This would have to be something like necessary delusions, how beliefs are, how true belief is essential for the functionality of many things. No, I don't have the subtitle yet, but it's like, what would it be? So, okay, I was talking to this religious girl, and she was saying, so how many of you have ever noticed that a lot of people that have an actual sense of pride in themselves, particularly women who have a real clear sense of pride in themselves, how many of you have ever noticed the ironic togetherness of women raised in the church? They make eye contact. Christian girls aren't afraid to look a man right in the eye. They aren't afraid to hold themselves up straight, to put themselves together. They don't act like their only value is their level of physical attractiveness. They act like, God forbid, they have some kind of innate God-given value that they don't need to constantly prove to you. How many of you have ever noticed this? There's something going on. We are blind to a lot. I'm an atheist, but I'm noticing this because I'm not some kind of religious atheist. I'm a secularist. I'm a true agnostic scientist who doesn't have any beliefs about the existence of God per se. I'm much more interested in the functionality of belief. I'm sorry this is such garbage, but look, what I'm really interested in is all those things that don't work unless you really believe in them. There's something about science that's just totally dysfunctional in the sense that we can't acknowledge that some illusions are necessary. You can't necessarily... I asked her, I say, what would happen if we centered belief around something other than if we had faith, but it wasn't centered around Christ. It wasn't centered around God per se. Maybe it could be centered around the environment or believing in the earth or something else like that. And she was like, no, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't, I wouldn't be, it would go back to being about me. It would go back to being about what I believe instead of being something that's true so that I can forget about myself. And I don't think it's just religion. I think there's a million invisible little areas that us scientific-minded folk are missing that require these delusions. They require belief and faith, and it has to be true. That's what lets her look me in the eye. Especially as a relatively, she is not what you would call a stereotypically attractive girl. She doesn't fit the stereotypes of our culture. I mean, that's one of the... There's got to be a million other areas where a self-delusion, a true hypnosis, is absolutely essential to the functionality of the given thing. And I think this is super common sense. Like, everyone knows this, but scientists and sciencey minded people are still in denial of it. And it reminds me of the need to even write a book called The Blank Slate that asserts that humans come with a nature. It's so commonsensical that it's hilarious that it took the scientific community centuries to discover what ordinary folks had always known and never forgot. Of course, humans come with a nature. And part of that nature, part of that programming may indeed be these necessary delusions. I feel like I'm alluding to some other book too. I should throw that out there. Is there necessary illusions? Is that, oh my God. I'm ripping off a Chomsky title. Okay, so I mean this very differently because he's talking about politics and he's borrowing their phrase. He's borrowing a neoliberal phrase that's making excuses for the necessary delusions of the public so that you can manage them properly. I don't agree with that. I agree with him on that. But yeah, this is totally different. This is like, how can the peacock display its feathers unless it really believes that it's the most beautiful peacock that has ever been? There might be a million of these, and it's going to say a lot about the nature of society and faith and science, and what roles things like faith and science can play and will play in any functional society if it turns out that there are many necessary delusions, and that being truly scientific will necessarily lead to you being dysfunctional in certain areas, because if you cannot delude yourself, you will not do X or Y or Z, because it'll all go back to you. It'll all be about you and your ego. It can never be about something outside of yourself. You can never worship anything other than your own intellect if you don't have some of these necessary delusions, where you truly believe, just for example, in this particular case with the girl in Christianity, that there is a God, that he made you, that he, you know, and that he's real, and that it's more about serving him than just serving yourself and your convenient little beliefs. So let me know if you think I'm on to something here, if I'm just suffering from an unnecessary delusion.